Welcome to Fargo Talks Fargo, a podcast on the FX television series Fargo from FX, a television show. I've already said that. It's season 5, episode 10. If you're just joining now, boy, you're kind of late. Where are we? Yeah.
Well, you're in Fargo.
Okay.
I don't know where the listeners are.
Yeah. We just hope that they're out there listening, nestled in, happy in their car, their couch, or wherever it is you choose to plant yourself to listen to you and I talk about this stuff, right?
We've made it.
Yes.
We made it to the end of this saga, this chapter in the Fargo universe. Do you think that...
Oh, God, when you say that, I'm so scared. I'm so scared.
Do you think that other characters, do you think that they know about each other or could know about each other from different seasons?
No, I don't. But I'm only saying this, Charpie, because I broke a rule today that I've pretty much stuck to steadfastly.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I did. I went out, and we don't read things before the show. Everybody knows that, and you've only got so much time. But you told me, I read stuff, one or two things, but you told me to record the hot dish, and then you said, hey, listen on Wednesday. Wednesday is the jam, your rewatch, and then that way Thursday you don't have to cram it all in. And that's what I usually do. I rewatch, I take tons of notes, and then we jump online, and that's how the whole thing tends to roll. But time alone with my thoughts is dangerous.
I like it. I'm excited to hear what Bill has to say after he's stewed on a couple of things for an extra day.
Yeah, I don't know. That's scary. You know, that's me alone with too much time.
What do you mean?
Just you can get down too deep. Sometimes it's not right.
Oh, should we just start doing this podcast a year after everything airs, and then we just go, all right, everybody, like, chill out. We know the new season's out, but let's all wait 1 year and then watch together.
That's going to require a great deal of patience, and boy, you got me there. I mean, it's kind of scary to think about it because these podcasts kind of stay forever, and we don't really go back and listen to our old episodes. And over the course of the years, I sort of hate the idea of what we talked about back then because we're different. We're better.
I don't like that at all because...
Yeah. I mean, no one would. I mean, it's just like sometimes the snapshot of you is, even if you don't say anything like terrible, it's just you have this tendency of looking back at yourself weird. But either way, Bisquik, bro. Bisquik.
When you think of Bisquik, are biscuits the first thing you think of or pancakes?
I would say I would probably go pancakes first. And then, I don't know, somewhere after that, I would think about waffles, right? I don't know. That's the other thing. And then, I don't know, biscuits.
Of course, pancakes.
Yeah.
Even though Bisquik is an obvious name for biscuits, and that's where it came from, and that's what the recipe was. But now I just always associate Bisquik with pancakes.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's so crazy that Bisquik, biscuits. This is one of those, God, I'm so dumb. I can't believe I didn't put all of that together. It's probably because I so associate it with pancakes or waffles. If I saw that box out on the counter, most of the time it was going to be, that's what we were going to be fed. If it was breakfast at night and you're going to get some eggs and bacon or sausage and the Bisquik was on the counter, you're like, man, this is going to be the best supper ever. I definitely wonder though how much did FX, Bisquik is a trademark thing. That's Bisquik. You have to wonder how much did they have to pay to write that. It's a trademark name.
Without a doubt. For me, it's Pillsbury for biscuits.
What?
But
oh my God, this is kind of insane. I feel like you've just changed the whole script.
Well, let's
do.
Truthfully, for me, if I'm making biscuits or pancakes, I'm not using a box because I've never used a box for biscuits or pancakes. But I do like the Pillsbury. They have that tube thing. When I was a kid, I remember busting those out.
It's half the fun is like smashing it against the side of the counter and just watching it pop. Yeah.
And they're those types of biscuits that are like in layers and you can like peel off each individual layer.
God, Now you're just making me hungry.
It's like the string cheese of biscuits.
That's a very solid point. Okay, let's talk Fargo Talks Fargo. Fargo Talks Fargo. Yeah. So we come back to this scene. The fog. Gator is still on the struggle bus under the tree. Did you get a weird Game of Thrones vibe a little?
No, because I could actually see what was on my television, so I appreciate that. Thank you to the cinematographers and colorists.
Yeah, I mean, credit where credit's due, obviously. It's plus there was no like tiny little heroine jumping from a trampoline coming out of the darkness, like on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and if there was, if that happened in Game of Thrones, I didn't see it because the entire show was black to me.
Yeah,
maybe I just have a really crappy TV, which is probably true.
Well, so here we go. It's like, there you go. There's ours. We keep joking about sponsors. It's like, yeah, well, Samsung
TCL.
TCL. Yeah, that's the one. So
you got the blind rabbit wandering around in the fog. Kind of expected. The turn of events for him is something we're expecting. We were expecting him to probably turn, especially after the previous episode where his dad basically crapped all over him. So we kind of knew that turn was going to happen. That turn meaning Gator, telling the feds and the police, whereas Pop was going to pop up. Came right out of the rabbit hole as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just thinking about the rabbit hole. It's just, I like that people have emailed in to talk about the cinematography. You like your keen split diopter look. I like that there's this journey and this feeling of the twisting and that kind of stuff. And I'm, you just get kind of in your head about it, and you try to decide if it's just a cool move or if there's some other reference that's happening for it or something like that. But yeah, we're definitely heading down the hole.
Yeah, it just kind of felt what it immediately reminded me of was more of Alice in Wonderland kind of thing.
Oh, nice. I like that. I like it a lot.
Like going down the rabbit hole. I mean, we know we've seen a lot of red pill references. Those are QAnon references, but I liked that, like leading up to this, a bunch of red pill stuff, rabbit stuff, Alice in Wonderland stuff, and him kind of like going through that rabbit hole is like him entering a new world where he's a better person and forgiven, and hopefully leads a brighter life, albeit in prison.
Yeah, man, you're getting to the heart of this real quick. You thinking about this whole path forward.
I mean, who knows? Everything is really subjective in this show. There's a lot which is what's fun about this podcast. There's a lot to look into and read into, and we probably do it way too much. But hey, that's the show, and that's why we're here.
Yeah. The interesting thing after this too, though, is thinking about fathers and sons, and we kind of eventually get to the I'm using air quotes around church. We get to a place where Roy seemingly feels forsaken by his father, right? Jeez.
That's right. I mean, he spits on God's floor.
Yeah, I keep thinking it wasn't that long ago in an episode where he's calling him friend and talking about, it's like they're in cahoots together. But yeah, it's a boy, Roy right. Always.
I mean, he had this tight relationship. God's got his back.
Not no more.
God's on his side, which everybody thinks. And now he's got some sort of like beef.
Yeah, and when we say beef, we don't mean the Golden Globes / Emmys, Jeremy Allen White beef. Maddie Matheson, all that fun stuff. We don't want to get too far back into food. That'd be we've already started heading that way. But yeah, Charpie, you're right, and I think it's an incredibly astute point that I think Roy is, he's spat on this altar is almost like this rejection of his religiosity. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'll come back to this religion point later, but I mean, I tried to figure out what was going on there, but it was like, boy, it was just quick, and it definitely had some meaning about his, also just to show his frustration with not being heard by his Lord Almighty and Maker. The other part that kind of got me in here is I was listening to the music, and I was total struggle bus trying to get Shazam or something going. But the the music that struck up sounded so familiar, and I'm pretty sure I should look back and see if we're right. I'll double check, but I think it was this Nikki Swango thing from season 3.
No way.
Yeah, Nikki Swango. That was a fun character, and it's also very fun to say her name. So, but anyway, it was pretty cool. But it's quite a telling moment for us leading into this to see like where's Roy and what's he doing, and I don't know. I have to wonder. You go to the church, you're going to take a hot second to go there to have a poor conversation with the Lord Almighty. I mean, what do you think?
Interesting time to spite God. If you're such a holy man.
Yeah, it's a really poor day.
On the day you are kind of assuming there's a good chance you're gonna meet him, you know?
Yeah, you're going from reaching out to capital G to lowercase g, but you're gonna end up in
capital
hell.
H, capital H.
Capital hell. You're going to hell, Roy. Gee, dang it. So, like, hey, what do you make of all this, like, hullabaloo that was happening between Odin and Roy? And did you see it coming in that kind of way, or what? Like, what was your hot thing about good old Odin?
Similar to perhaps Roy going to the church and perhaps having his last conversation with God. Perhaps Odin, in similar fashion, is feeling like he's having his last conversation with Roy and finally saying what he thinks. I mean, Odin's no saint by any means. He's the leader of a local militia. He's breaking a bunch of laws, and what am I looking? What's the word I'm trying to say? I don't know.
He's an asshole.
But he stands up. He's just trying to say his piece with Roy, basically. He's not impressed with Roy up to this point. Maybe he was to some degree, at some point in his life. Obviously approved of his daughter's hand in marriage with Roy. But then goes out to say, I'm surprised you haven't killed her yet, which is his daughter. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely foobar, and just the level of acknowledgement about all of it, because does he somehow know that he killed his other wife, or he clearly knows Roy can be a killer. The level of how nonchalant they are in these conversations is insane to me. But like, the other thing that I just kept thinking about was like he sort of knows Roy to some deep ability, but he also totally forgets that he can't control himself when he gets super spun up. And here he is, he's just like poking the bear over and over and over. And when I look back at the rewatch, I was like, well, of course he's going to kill him right there. But I mean, I think they do a decent job. It's sort of a misdirect when you think they're going to get into a little fisticuff action with the take out your dentures, old man. But bingo bango Nicky Swango, he slits the guy's throat, or the professor's throat, or what was the line?
Something about you're gonna have to start calling me the professor with the lessons I'm gonna teach.
Well, there's a class I don't want to audit. That's this is that whole juxtaposition we get between terrible violence happening, smashed up against weird lines and something slightly comedic, but we're definitely Han shot first. Roy just pulled it off. Let's go.
So we're not even 7 minutes into the show. That's what got me on this episode. 7 minutes into the show, and Odin's dead, and Roy's got a bullet in the belly. And that was amazing. I loved it. I loved it because we're not dragging anything out into this huge firefight for 45 minutes and then, putting a little bow on everything at the very end where people's got blankets over their shoulder and they're sitting in the ambulance or something like that.
That's always the way those things end, isn't it? Like,
I don't need to draw out these like action sequences like some people like. I loved getting to the point extremely quickly because you know what happens after that? You're left wondering like, whoa, cool. There's another 40 minutes here. and I have no idea what we're gonna cover. Obviously, Ula is still out there. We've got Witt hanging out, gonna save the day or something. But there's like so much to discover. Then at that point, we just get to it, and we get to enjoy more depth.
Yeah, it's a completely it's just because it's just so unexpected. And I know we're overly biased about the show because this is the only podcast we do on a TV show, or this is the only podcast we do. But yeah, they do such a good job, and they kind of it's almost like they skip the appetizer and they're like, hey, by the way, dinner's ready. And they do that, and you do have that total, hey, what the heck's going on now moment. But it gives you time to think about other details and things like that.
I loved little details in this episode, and one of them being the fact that the feds and the SWAT team are, well, first of all, they're all geared up, like military industrial complex in full effect. Like the FBI is in like full military outfits, helmets and all the gear and all the toys, but they're like barricaded behind their cars, and the militiamen are literally hiding behind a wire fence.
They're clearly not trained. They don't know. They don't
nothing.
know. What are you going to do? Like I wrote down in one of my notes, though, that I was like, it's just a whole bunch of dudes pointing guns at each other, and they don't know what they're doing, and it's terrible. And you just think, well, this is not going to end well for some of these people. As we look at this kind of season as a whole, it's been so interesting in the way they've kind of told us that this is sort of an inverted or a retelling of the movie as we know it. And I kept trying to find places where I thought there was like either a mirror reflection or something similar, and I couldn't tell. But there's that scene where Marge, the way Roy went like kind of running towards the dugout, like doing stuff, he looked a lot like the way Gator was running away from Marge in the movie, and it just kind of caught my eye. It's kind of just a little shot there that was fun. And and the thing about that too is that much like Gator, I thought, I know Ula is kind of our, like, we think of him as the Anton Chigurh and the something, but he's still sort of the lone man standing in some ways that we're seeing in this scene because Ula has sort of disappeared. But Marge shoots Gator too, but doesn't kill him. And so I thought, well, maybe this is just another connection the way that Dot shot Roy, but it didn't kill him. And so that's kind of an interesting thing to put there. But I don't know. I mean, when you see it and you kind of tie it together, it's kind of, yeah.
No, I did not put that one together, but that's good.
It also, skipping just a bit ahead, it also had me thinking about that whole, it's the movie, it's the show, things are different, but things are circular. But I did feel like a lot of this episode was returning us even to early scenes from the season this year. But it made me think about the whole Ula saying that it's not a circle, it's a line, but maybe it's not. And I don't know, we don't have to get all Christopher Nolan and Memento about it, but yeah, it's just kind of, it's a whole different world that's going on, and I think it's cool. I've been enjoying it. And yeah, here's another episode of Rabbit Hole with Bill and Charpie.
Okay. Well, just as Gator went down the rabbit hole and came out the other side, his father, like son, like father, as they say.
And the
Roy goes down the rabbit hole.
The silver spoon, little boy blue, and the man in the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't. Oh, God,
that was really good. I hope you keep that in there.
Yeah, this is a terrible idea. Sorry, I apologize.
Just like Gator went through the rabbit hole, came out the other side, of maybe a different person in a different world, Roy does too. Because Roy goes down the rabbit hole, comes out the other side, and he's got a whole new life ahead of him now. So that is like a transition for him. It's like that hole is like transitional, probably.
Transitional hole. That feels like it could be a show title. I got to back up just a hot second to the Witt and Roy in the tunnel kind of thing, or whatever you want to call it. I know we talked about I've said he needed to pay a debt, but I saw them squaring off, but I felt I kind of didn't see it coming, but I did. Did you?
I didn't at first, but as I was watching it, and he's not just shooting him, which we know he's not going to do because he's Witt and he's like he likes to play things by the book, which he's mentioned before, not in those words, but when it was taking a while for him to like put him down, I was like, oh no, because Witt is the good and he does owe a debt. Not to say that his life has to pay that debt.
Yeah, it's just those debts. It's so, we're going to have to visit about debts.
We know this character owes a debt, and this whole season has been about that.
Exactly.
And you know what? The whole franchise is about evil and goodness in the world and how it doesn't always work out.
No, it's tough.
For the better. Mm. And good guys die and bad guys win.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, when you say it like that, it's just so true, and you have to acknowledge and understand it, but you just hate to see Roy win.
Roy is a dirty guy, and sometimes playing dirty puts you on top, unfortunately. That's the world. And that's kind of that's been a theme of this show since inception. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean?
You're not talking about the Leonardo DiCaprio movie that you want, like, wait, the world is folding on top of itself? No, it's just, yeah.
And that's just it. So Witt Farr ended up paying his debt, unfortunately, with his life. But what a great character, fun character to see Lamorne Morris play. Loved every second of it. I wish we could see him back, but that's how this show goes. So,
yeah, I mean, it was a great character. I would have been fine with a little extra even of that character, because I just, he's just likable, and you want more goodness in dark shows, because I've had a few people comment to me about how this is a very dark season. Overall, super nice to see his character, to see the development of what happens between him and Dot, and he and Indira in their kind of burgeoning partnership and caring for each other. It's that's sort of what maybe makes it so sad when we look forward into the episode and realize that it's the life lost and what we don't get. But yeah, I mean, if he could have lived, we could have had like another classic Indira and Witt mess around. If that's me referencing New Girl, if there's any New Girl fans out there. But yeah, it's gone too soon. I mean, sometimes I feel a little bit overly fanboy about this show because we don't tend to lean into being hypercritical, because we just like to enjoy the show and we find our places to nitpick. But I think every time I see this stuff get cast, I'm like, God, they're doing so good. But even the supporting cast and the other characters, they all were great. I mean, so many great people in this show that did a fantastic job, in my opinion. And since we're heaping praise on actors from the show, Juno Temple was superb in so many ways on this season of Fargo. That scene kind of after she's done talking to Gator, where she just wants to find her trooper, Deputy Witt Farr, who we were just talking about, and you realize, oh my God, and they don't, there's just the shaking of the head. It's just gut-wrenching.
Yeah. It was, Juno Temple did a really good job on that reaction.
Yeah, I even made kind of a dumb joke on our Instagram that she's, she really ties the season together, Juno does, and it does a great thing, but insert my dumb Big Lebowski, the rug really ties the room together thing. But I definitely keep thinking about the circle and the line stuff that Ula talks about later, and where it can take us, but I don't know why. I'm just keep getting sort of stuck on it, and not in the bad way, but this whole show, it's the line thing it's something else I can't seem to put my finger on. You know what I mean?
I mean, let me see if I can kind of guess where you're going here. You're saying that it's almost like a palindrome this episode, because we end up we end up, which was the name, I guess, of one of the previous episodes. In other
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, but because it ends back at Wayne and Dot's house, right? And this show kicked off very much like the original movie Fargo, when you have this character Dot and these two ghoulish guys are coming in and breaking into the house, and we end in that same house, in that same living room, with one of those characters.
Yeah,
so it did come all the way back around to where we started.
Yeah, it was quite the ping pong. Charpie, I so much appreciate that. It's so much more than you can just do. It's such a better job of clarifying than I am today. And speaking of circling back, that also when Gator and Dot are speaking and he calls her Nadine, it's one of the few times I think on the show where she doesn't correct him, because that's just Dot. She doesn't need to do that right now. She's doing what she needs to try be there, I guess, for Gator, and he hasn't got there yet, because that's all Gator knows her as, and she knows that. And you know what? She's forgiven him, and even Dot's so nice,
and will even visit him every month in prison with Scotty, who good for her. I mean, Scotty's going to turn out great, and bring him his oatmeal raisin cookies, and
yeah, that's tasty treats.
So yeah, I mean, and that's kind of been her take throughout this episode, is forgiveness and not having to buy into the story that you're being fed. Gator doesn't have to be this big, strong, alt-right militia man. He doesn't. He can choose a different path.
Yeah, and we'll kind of get to that later too, in the kitchen later, at the home of the Lions. But it's definitely a thing. I mean, it's kind of that's part of the arc of this story that I kind of like, is that even if you're not there and you're not 100% to perfection yet, people get to change or adjust or adapt. Like everybody, Oli, right?
Oli doesn't have to be full of sin and only be on this path of eating sin and being sin.
Yeah.
You can pick your own path. Everybody gets screwed at some point. Everybody gets hurt at some point. And we live in this world these days where everybody thinks that somebody's out to get them and trying to hurt them, and wants to retaliate, when the reality is everybody's getting shit on. Everybody hurts. Everybody has bad days. We don't have to have a villain in our life.
I love that. I mean, I think we even mentioned it in other shows. Like, if you don't have an ability to change, if we can't, we're so screwed. I mean, we're not trying in any way, shape, or form to like cast aspersions on anyone if there's villains in their life or things. There's terrible things, but I even sometimes when celebrities or somebody has terrible stuff going on, sometimes you're like, ugh, whatever. You have plenty of money, it's fine. But I don't know, at the core of it, we're all human, and everybody deserves a little bit of empathy and time to have some introspection and think about, what have I done wrong and what can I do to change that? I just want to make sure, that's part of what the show is saying, and I think that's part of the kind of the joy and the interesting of Dot. That doesn't make any sense, but this is what Dot provides. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's the tiger, and she will mess you up if you. I mean, she did just shoot Roy, but Roy was threatening her. But she has patience. She has empathy. She has insight that she can offer to the world, and I think that's. I don't know. I just think that's a great thing to remember, and I like what you said as well. I mean, it's a TV show, but it's hard watching a fictional character too that you look at and you're like, man, I should be better. I need to be more like Dot.
I loved the very short little scene where you can see a range of emotion across Dot's face in the back of that car.
Yeah, I mean, it stretches back and forth. It's kind of like a wave that she has.
It goes from like shock to what just happened to a sprinkle of relief, back to shock, then to sadness, then to relief again, and maybe finally some happiness once she realizes, she's about home and she's going to be reunited with Wayne and Scotty.
It's such great work as an actor to be able to convey so much in such a short span of time with 0 words, yet somehow relaying a ton of emotion that just pulls on you, right?
Yeah. If you were to look at a still image of her face in the beginning of that shot and her face at the end of it, looks like 2 different people.
Yes, it's almost like multiple scenes.
It's so amazing.
And the other thing that we kind of got to get to about it is that, talking about the circular and the straight line and the palindrome, as you had mentioned, is we're back. We're back again to the very early scene of her in the back of a car in the first episode after she got in trouble at the school board meeting. So we're back at it again. Just another indicator of how this goes back and forth and back and forth.
Did you watch the show Ozark?
Oh, absolutely. That's another great show that has just a super cast with some very standout individuals, but lots of great supporting cast. Is there like a scene there that you're trying to reference for us here?
There's a scene where I think the actor's name's like Tom Pelfrey or something. He plays the brother of the Laura Linney character.
That dude gives you a run for your money for some of those episodes of that show where you can't decide if you feel for him or if you're mad at him. But the scene you're thinking of is what?
He's in the back seat of a vehicle, and it's just one shot, and he goes through a range of emotions, and it is an absolutely stunning performance, and that's what this made me think of. Totally different type of performance, but if you watch Ozark, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you should watch it.
Yeah, I agree. Now that you're reminding me of that, I know exactly what you mean. It's just people who can say things without saying things. It's not as easy as you'd think, and it's just the range of emotion that you can show people.
Yeah.
But for real, I don't know how many seconds it is, but it is. It's just it's great. Go back and watch it, definitely. Ozark and this scene with Dot.
And we finally get reunited with the family, and even Lorraine, who face to face accepts Dot as her new daughter, which is so good.
Yeah, I mean, did you buy it?
Yeah, I think it was genuine.
I agree. I just have this thought in the back of my mind that she's still kind of in a gross business, but it's still nice to see that she was able to come through for her daughter-in-law and be a little bit more heartfelt for them and have a nice family moment.
All right, so we skip to a year later. We've got a little time transition here. Fast forward. It's a year later. So remember, it was 2019 when this story kind of played out. So now it's 2020, and
the future's now.
One thing that I was thinking of was
what?
Are we in the same universe? Is this reality? Because we've been so like Trumpy and political throughout this show or season that it seems like we are in this same world. However, nobody's wearing masks in 2020 anymore, so there's obviously no COVID in this universe. Not here at the cemetery, not at the penitentiary. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any?
This is part of that thing I read ahead, and I'm so mad I did it this time, and it was from Noah. But he mentioned in it that he very specifically avoided COVID and timeline to be that way, so there were no masks or any of those things. And I think it's just he was trying to avoid getting into that deep well of all sorts of those divisions and those topics. And it's just there's enough meat in this show, I think, that putting it in there would have been, it might have been too dense, but I don't know. Next, we meet at a scene at the graveyard with Witt Farr, and there's this reflection of Indira, and we see that she is joined by Scott and Dottie. Scotty and Dottie? Jesus, Scotty. Anyway. And they very kindly freshen up the flowers on his grave with these beautiful tulips that are just kind of I think they're just peaceful and calming. But what did you think overall?
I thought there were a couple of nice touches to this scene. Like you mentioned the yellow tulips. You mentioned the grave, the reflection, anniversaries, things like that. But all in all, I mean, this whole scene, to be honest, I probably could have done without it.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be totally straight.
I can feel you there, dude. That's fine.
It was nice to show that, they do have these commitments and they make good on them. It probably shows that Dot will be visiting Gator in prison every month because she's coming to Whitfar's grave every year on the anniversary, or maybe this is the inaugural visitation. When they say something about anniversaries, I assume this is the first time since last year.
I know what you mean, though. It's just, it is a nice scene, but I don't know how much we glean from it. I mean, there's a few points in there, but I like what you're saying, though, about her dedication to what it could be and could mean that they're doing it, and that they are noting that the sacrifice he made was real, and it's their way of I would guess to honor and pay tribute. I mean, I guess the goofy question is, are you a peanut M&M guy or are you a peanut smoothie M&M guy? What's the answer to that, Charpie?
What do you mean, peanut smoothie? Peanut butter.
I'm an idiot. Yeah, peanut butter.
Did you call peanut butter peanut smoothie?
I did. I'm very clearly thinking about chunky versus smooth.
Do you refer to?
Shut up.
Do you refer to peanuts as like hard and smooth, with smooth being peanut butter? You gotta leave this in. I'm gonna start calling.
I just realized. I even said smooth. I mean, I guess it is smooth, but I mean, it's creamy or chunky. That's whatever. I've messed up. I can't recover.
Everybody from now on call peanut butter peanut smoothie.
This is great. This is my legacy from now on. I mean, it's okay. In the end, I guess I was just a peanut M&Ms or. I don't even know what they're called. Whatever. Tell me about your M&M's stuff. Jesus.
I'm a regular yellow bag peanut M&M's guy. Is that what you're asking me?
Yes. I just don't know what I'm doing anymore with my life. I'm ride or die on that bag with you, but clearly Scotty's got different things going on, and she has made her selection.
Yeah, she's a peanut smoothie girl. I mean, I would eat peanut smoothie
Enough
M&Ms.
with the peanut smoothie.
But
sure.
There's all kinds of fancy M&Ms now. They got like M&Ms with like pretzels and stuff in them. Never had them. Sounds delicious.
Yeah,
salt and chocolate and crunchiness. Yeah, count me in.
Yeah, it's the perfect balance of those things that you're right. I mean, but I don't know. So the ones the creamy inside makes me feel weird. But okay, let's digress.
Can we please get to the penitentiary?
It's time. Let's enough with the peanut wars, M&M wars, and the smoothies. But what's life like for Roy, do you think?
Yeah, he is probably already not having a great time. I assume that's why he had to get affiliated with a group and, get branded himself, as he's probably branded a lot of cattle.
Oh, goodness. I never even would have connected the rancher Roy to his brand new ink that he's seemingly acquired in his new and fantastic life.
Yeah, now he's branded. Hey, man, a law enforcement person is not going to have a good time in prison, so he's got to get affiliated like right quick and get his little branding in place. Now, the Queen of Debt, this kind of totally shocked me. The Queen of Debt playing her hand like a true professional. She's playing the long game. She knows this is her world. She knows that debt for her is power, and she's going to use that power to the best of her ability. And what a move she plays with knowing that lots of prisoners are in debt. They're just going to keep getting more into debt because it's not like they're making a ton of cash in prison, although some people might be. So she's going to use that to her advantage and basically cover a bunch of prisoners' debts in exchange for making Roy's life miserable. Not killing him, not giving him the old shank, just a nice, slow death by 1,000 cuts. Which is perfect.
Yeah, kind of satisfying. I got myself down a rabbit hole of terrible Google search history, which is what happens when you start looking for swastikas of all sorts of varieties, which I realized was the dumbest thing ever. And I'm like, oh God, somewhere somebody thinks I'm a monster. But the swastika on his neck is from the Odinic Rite, which Wikipedia lists as a Reconstructionist religious organization named after the god Odin. That should kind of connect us with some things. They've sort of rejected some of the the normalcy of Christianity, not normalcy, but the ideology of it, and they lean more into the Norse mythology. And I have to think that at some point this must be maybe connected to earlier when you noted that he spit at the altar, and maybe he is having this kind of rejection of God. But that's a lot for a tattoo.
It's still a swastika. It's still a representation of fascism. We all get it.
Yeah.
But it is a nice touch that they didn't just go straight up swastika and went with that Odinic Rite. Yeah.
I'm still thinking about how much it looked like Lorraine loved laying this plan out to Roy and watching him sort of shrink into the magic of that. Did you that's something you noticed as well when you saw?
Before she does so, I found it interesting that she dismissed Indira.
Oh, the principal stuff.
Before getting into how she's going to make this guy's life miserable, because you know what? Indira is like Witt and likes to play things the right way, the straight way, the by the book way. And this is sort of not necessarily wrong, but it's definitely outside of Indira's moral code. And if she doesn't know about it, it won't hurt her.
Plausible deniability.
So I thought that was kind of interesting, but I just absolutely loved I loved how she laid it out and how he tried to play it tough, but you could kind of see through you could see through that a little bit in his eyes and see that fear, which is a good job by John Hamm.
Yeah, he's slowly shrinking away from his current machismo and what he thinks is going to happen to him. He thought he was safe because, as you pointed out, he's kind of he's ganged up with some people who he thinks might have his back. And this definitely kind of touches on our comments earlier in the season about this, kind of Roman Colosseum of how we sort of love the idea of watching somebody get their just desserts and eventually, but we don't have to actually physically watch it. It's just great for us to seemingly know what's going to happen, but it's rough. But she definitely, the Mama Lion here, loves dishing this out. She loves the orchestration, and I have to admit, I think Danish would be proud of what she put together. But yeah,
Dot and Scotty finally get home from their trip to the grocery store where they got peanut smoothie M&Ms, cheddar cheese, sour cream.
Yeah, Wayne, because very clearly they don't give a rip. It's dairy or bust.
Yeah, Wayne Lyon clearly not given a flying F about his lactose intolerance. But that's what the lactate's for. So, but when Dot and Scotty enter the house, and you see Wayne from afar from the entryway, he's sitting very properly and just kind of staring, and it's very obvious that something's up. So he's not rushing to the door to help get the groceries.
Yeah, you'd think he seems like a helpful fella, but there's just something happening there, and it's ominous. And you wait for that camera pan,
He's in a trance. He's still got some, still obviously got some neurological issues. Not really totally present.
No, and that was a lot of electricity that coursed through his body at one point.
And lo and behold, Ulla Monk is in the living room and taking us all the way back from where we started. So here we are, and love hearing him talk in his 500-year-old manner. He's just this fantastical character. We now know that this guy's been wandering the earth for hundreds and hundreds of years. He got here before he was here before Christopher Columbus. He was here before most Northern Europeans, or Europeans, I should say, which is true. In Minnesota, there's evidence of people from the Scandinavian region being here from that long ago. Well before
the runestones.
Yeah, well before Christopher Columbus, well before. And they landed literally in the middle of the continent. They came from all the way over there, and they didn't land on the East Coast. They didn't land in the Bahamas. They landed in the middle of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Traveling through tributaries that got them all the way from the sea in longboats. And we hear a little bit of that. So that's all like based in reality, which is very interesting.
It's so hard to imagine it's stuff because you can't even fathom the idea of that crossing the sea in those ways back in those days.
Mm-hmm. I think that stuff's fascinating.
Absolutely agree with that.
And there's one of those longboats in Fargo. Or Moorhead, rather.
Yumkomst.
Which is next to Fargo.
Yeah, so if you want to visit Moorhead and learn more about Viking ships, these people here in the region built a replica of a Viking ship called the Yumkomst. Yumkomst. I'm probably saying it wrong. I'm not very good with Norwegian, but it means homecoming. And it's in this kind of weird building in Moorhead. You can go visit it, but after they built it, they put the thing in the water in Duluth in the Lake Superior. And they sailed the thing all the way to Norway, and then it stayed there for a while, and then they eventually shipped it here, and it's been basically dry docked as a museum piece. But, little connection to Oli there maybe. So back to Oli.
This was probably my favorite scene of the entire season, where you've got Wayne punching in and out and Scotty punching in and out of this like fantastical characters. Like he's trying to have this like soliloquy going on, but Wayne drops him. Wayne wants a pop. Hey, you want a pop? I want a pop. Grab some orange soda.
Clink.
Hands it. Ula clearly has no idea what it is. Like what it must look like a magic potion in some sort of weird mad scientist vial, because he looks at it as if it were something like some sort of like witch's potion. But the cheers, the shout outs to the chimpanzees, the tigers, the zoo, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, fun fact: I've
so
actually
good.
been to that zoo and seen that tiger, and it's a very nice zoo. Not a big fan of zoos, but it was fine. But yeah, carry on.
So good. And also Dot. So this is where Dot takes control of the situation in the best way. Because Oli's talking about how a pound of flesh was taken and now she owes a debt, and like that's his, he has to live by that, and now that debt has to be paid, and just because he let her out doesn't mean the fight is over, doesn't mean that they're friends. And she kind of just ignores the story that he lays out in front of everyone. He's going by the book. He's saying this is the way it has to be because that's the way it's always been. And she just totally ignores that, completely ignores that, and doesn't let Oli suck her into his storyline.
Yeah, she's definitely kind of almost like, hey, your Old Testament friend, I'm going New Testament here. There's a different world, and things can change. If we're going to tie into the Ula Monk's, kind of religious eye for an eye and kind of background and what he does. But yeah, he's so quizzical too when she's saying it, because just Dot is so clearly got her own thing. She's not pontificating to him. She's just telling him like, hey, it can be different. It's okay.
It's amazing. He's like, a pound of flesh must be taken now. A pound of flesh was taken. Now a pound of flesh is owed. And she's like, well, it's a school night and we're halfway to dinner, so let's make biscuits.
It's just the thing that really this offers us so much. A scene like this is that they let you. There's so much serious stuff happening, and they're trying to just like break us back a little bit to be like, come on, we can have this moment, and it's okay, and we could pause and we can change things up. But I got some other stuff going on. I got some shit to do. And she has rules. They're her world, and that's the thing. She's like school night. Sorry, I got stuff to do. I get your whole point about you want to do this, but hey, friend, I got family night going on, and we got shit to do. So either you got to skedaddle or you got to clean up and help out and sit and stay for a spell. Have a little chili with us.
It is great to see him wash his hands and how they are just forever unclean. Because they do not get clean. 500 years of dirt, man, is not going to come off with a little bit of dawn.
Oh, it's a lot.
You're going to need to bust out that lava.
Exactly, yeah. You're going to a little more scrubby before you get your mitts in the bowl.
Oli starts making the biscuits, just like Bill's cats are doing right now. Oli's making the biscuits, which is clearly, some sort of reference to him finally getting his pancakes, right? Because it's basically the same food, just slightly.
Yeah, it's all varied. But yeah, she's showing him all the hot tips and the secrets to getting this done right. How to make Bisquik quick.
Her, biscuit secrets, which include buttermilk, which is what you'd put in pancakes, honey, which is what you would put in pancakes. So it's very clearly like him. This is him getting his pancakes. That's all he wanted. He's been eating sin for 500 years. The man just wants a damn pancake, and he gets it. And I believe, and to me, that's like Dot's telling him that, maybe he just needs something. So he goes on to tell this story about what he's been doing. He came over on the longboat. He's been eating sin. That's all he knows. That's all he tastes. That's all he's made of. And she's like, yeah, maybe you just need something made with love. Have some Chilean biscuits. This is love. Perhaps eating the biscuit is him absolving himself of his own sins. He's eating maybe his own sins. And now he can be free from that because he just, instead of eating the sins, he ate the love. Maybe that's what it is. And he's now free. And he will fade away to dust and blow in the North Dakotan wind.
Yeah, Ula is now free to be a heartwarming and caring individual. But I really like that, what you said about him. He's doing it. The other thing that I thought of later is that she, in the kitchen where she sort of chastises him about like, hey, you have a choice. You took the job. You got to deal with kind of the consequences. But he didn't have to eat it. He didn't have to help make dinner. And he's actually making a choice right now to enjoy something and feel that or try to do that. And I think that's another thing that just makes it kind of seem or actually feel good. Goodness, I just totally realized something I meant to mention earlier when they came home that I looked up. And past seasons I've got down weird places looking at the numbers on things and, still trying to figure out what the dang symbols and the runes on the wall of the Bobbsey twins room was. But their house number is 1219 when they pulled up, and I just couldn't stop myself, and I had to just quickly do like 1219 Bible and see what came up. And there's only one 1219 in the Bible from what I can tell quickly, but I thought it was pretty relevant, and I'll lead in with 12:18, Romans 12:18 to be exact. So at 18 it says, if it is possible so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Then 12:19 says, beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave room for the wrath of God, for it is written, quote, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. And then in Romans 20 it says, no, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink. Clink, have an orange soda. And back to the Bible quote, for by doing this, you will heap burning coals on their heads. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. That has to, maybe it's a crazy coincidence, but yeah. Take the soda, and, Bisquik.
Eat the biscuit, man. Yeah, so, beautiful scene. Loved it. I love the ending the show with that smile on Sam Spruill's face playing Oli Monk. So what a perfect ending.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
rarely do people say that when a season ends, right?
Uh-huh.
People often love to criticize the ending of shows. I thought that last shot was the most perfect way to end it. So good.
I think, yeah, you nailed it right there. It's just the show had so much serious stuff going on and so many dark things happening. There was moments of laughter and jokes and things that we find entertaining, but you're right. It's just so nice to come back to something and end it, and especially in an era where people no one's ever happy the way things end, it seems like. But yeah, it was absolutely, it was good.
500 years on this earth. Do you think he ever had to take a driver's ed class?
I don't know. I mean, he's more of a boatman from what we've just heard. When you give me the most random things to think about, dude, Jesus.
That's my job. Well, Bill, I mean, what did you have some things you wanted to ask me about, or should we wrap it up here 10 years later?
Yeah, it's been a trip, man. Thanks for doing this with me, buddy. I think, the season overall, I thought it was fantastic. I'll be curious to look back on it later and maybe do a rewatch at some point. But, I like that. I just feel good about the ending, and I just don't want to kind of let that go. There's hope, there's humanity, there's redemption, there's change. There's a push for all sorts of things, and I think it's just so nice that in such an awkward show that involves people getting shot and hurt and murder for hire, that you can still kind of come around to something that has a different kind of quality to it that can make you feel, hopeful, because even the ending of the movie was Marge, saying, what? And all this for a little bit of money, this, on the other hand, is showing you that you can do better.
I really enjoyed the season. I thought there were some good lessons. I think people got kind of can easily get tired of the political commentary. I liked it because I think they were still able to pull out like some surprises. It wasn't the same old stuff. It was just a layer in there, which is a layer of reality. And there's a lot of layers of reality in this show, in that bad guys sometimes get away. Good guys die. Things happen. Things don't get explained. We don't have to know what happened to Dana Shazai. We don't have to know why Dot was faking her accent. And we don't have to know where Lorraine's accent came from. These things happened. It even, they said that she was dropping her accent. Why? We will never know. We'll literally never know. And that's kind of Hawley's style.
Yeah, the mystery.
I saw an interview with him where he said that season 5 was planned to be the final season. And he told FX that. He said this will be the last season of Fargo. But then after filming, they said, well, why stop now? So we don't know if there'll be a season 6, but we know that they had really only intended it to be 5 seasons, but now they might just keep on going forever, because why not? It's an interesting universe. It's different from all of the other universes on television today. It's a successful show. It's a very award-winning show. It always does well. It always brings out interesting characters. It's like a really good little world to play with. Evil and good and evil. Why not just keep it going? It's a different story every time. It's a fun little vignette every time, and it's a very interesting world. And I look forward to more. I'm sure they're going to do more. We now know that it's not necessarily the final season, but, still could be. Very much looking forward to Noah Hawley's next project, Aliens, or Alien, rather, which will be a TV adaptation of the film series and franchise. So that will be very fun. We're not doing a podcast on that one. Sorry, Bill.
No, we're not. Nope, not doing it.
But I am going to watch it, and I'm going to love it. Absolutely. So very fun year. We may have some interesting things ahead, so stay subscribed, folks. We're working on a couple maybe bonus shows for y'all. So we'll keep you posted. Follow us on the socials. Email us at podcast@fargotalksfargo.com if you have any additional comments. Bill will get back to you. Anything more to add, Bill?
No, not really. The last thing I guess I would say is the last episode we record of every season is always what I think to be the hardest, because there's been a pin put in so many things, and then we get talking about it, and there's just such a mad sprint for 9 weeks of watching the show back to back to back. 2 shows a week, 2 shows of recording, editing, and doing these things. But I hope we got as much as we could have in there. If we didn't, like we've said before, just email us. We're happy to try talk to you a little bit about it, and we're looking forward to producing more content in the future. But we really do appreciate everybody who listens, the time you give us, and the energy that you kind of put forward for what we do. But Yeah, it's just been another super season, so I appreciate Charpie and everything he puts into the show as well. So, I don't know, I feel like we should just finally wrap up this palindrome and button it up.
All right, let's wrap it up.
All right, you gotta say the stuff, though.
Chicken piccata. Till next time. Bye now.